After we left the crumbling house, I moved my parents and my sister, Abigail, into my penthouse. I gave them everything: medical care, silk sheets, a life without fear. But while I was healing my relationship with my parents, a shadow from my past was searching for me in the neon lights of the city. I had never told anyone who the father was, except my parents. To me, he was just a boy from a powerful family who had stayed silent while his parents threatened my life. I had buried his name in the same grave as my poverty. Until the day my assistant walked into my office, her face pale. "Ma'am," she whispered, "there's a legal team downstairs. They aren't here for your company. They're here for your daughter." It turned out that while I was building my empire, Stephen, the boy from grade 12, had never stopped looking. He had been told by his parents that I had taken care of the problem and moved abroad. He had spent 20 years believing I hated him. But now, Stephen was dying. A rare genetic heart condition had surfaced, and he was in the final stages of organ failure. His family's power, their billions, their influence, none of it could buy a new heart. But it did buy them the truth, because he had no other child except my daughter. On his deathbed, his mother, consumed by guilt as she watched her only son fade, finally confessed. "She didn't leave you. We drove her out. And she had a daughter." I didn't want to go. Every fiber of my being wanted to let him wither away the way I had withered in that 8-square-meter room. But my daughter, now a grown woman with the same kind eyes Stephen once had, looked at me and said, "Mom, if he's the reason I exist, I need to see him before he's a ghost." We arrived at the private wing of the city's top hospital. The hallways were lined with the same people who had threatened my parents 20 years ago. They tried to apologize, but I walked past them as if they were invisible. I entered the room. Stephen looked nothing like the boy I loved. He was hooked to a dozen machines, his skin the color of ash. When he saw me, his heart monitor spiked. He reached out a trembling, skeletal hand. "Amara," he wheezed, tears leaking from the corners of his eyes. "I didn't know. I swear. I thought you moved on. I thought you were happy." I stood there, a billionaire, a titan of industry, but in that moment, I was just a girl in grade 10 again, standing in the rain. I brought our daughter to his bedside. He gasped, his hand shaking as he touched her hair. "She has your strength," he whispered. "I spent my life looking for you in every crowd, only to find you when I have no time left." He looked at me, his eyes pleading for a forgiveness I wasn't sure I could give. "Don't let her remember me as the boy who stayed silent," he choked out. Tell her I would have given my life to find that rainy night and stay in the mud with you." The monitor began to flatline. The nurses rushed in, but I didn't move. I took his hand, the first hand I had ever held, and felt the warmth leave it. As the sun set over the city skyline, I realized the final truth. Money had bought me a house, a car, and a company, but it couldn't buy back the 20 years we all lost to a lie. I walked out of the hospital, my daughter on one side and my parents on the other, finally realizing that the greatest wealth wasn't the 200 billion in the bank. It was the time we had left to love the people who remained.